This is the Milo Sweet Podcast, where you'll learn to get unstuck. Start now. Conquer life's challenges by learning to do difficult. Find quick and clever ways to overcome. Wait, did you think life was going to be easy? Remember, all of your excuses are now dead to me. Let's get started. Guess what time it is? It's time for you to hit the subscribe button and find just 1% that you think will benefit from this. But if you're feeling a little like generous, right? Or you're super free with your time right now, probably doing nothing because you're listening to this. Well, maybe if you're doing something, actually just make yourself free right now. Hit subscribe. What are you waiting for? Hit it. Come on. Hit subscribe.
So do you think there are going to be any side effects budget-wise or financially from like us all being at home, or just from whatever we're experiencing, social distancing together, alone, at home? I don't know. The hashtags, right? Like, do you think there's any things that people should really have top of mind while they're at home?
I think if finances was not on your mind before, it should be now. I don't know anybody that is not impacted in some way, shape, or form by this COVID crisis, let's say. I know friends, you probably have them too, that have been furloughed or unemployed or laid off. They're taking a direct hit to their budget, their finances right now in a big way. And it's not just maybe the first kind of round of folks that we thought were impacted, restaurant workers or big box, stores or the malls or whatever. It's widening to a much wider spread of people because it's lasting so long. And it's changed our behavior in terms of how we spend. And we're not pumping money into the economy the way that we were. So those things are definitely changing. I think that we need to be mindful of our money. That's my silver lining, I guess, out of this, is that we've created more awareness, not only for the health issues that are around a virus like that, and also the family impacts that it has on our family units as we all are at home together or more frequently together, but also how are we spending our money, and do we have an emergency fund, a rainy day fund? I don't know, where you are in the world listening to this, but it's raining right now. This kind of situation makes it rain, and having a rainy day fund that can help sustain your family for 3 to 6 months is really critical to kind of maintain your peace of mind.
Yeah, I think that is a really good point, that it is raining right now. I did hear Dave say, I'm laughing because I'm immature. I'm not laughing because it's actually funny. He just makes me chuckle. So he just said, it may have been like at the beginning of this, he's like, all those Dave Ramsey folks with their emergency funds, people are mad about that. He's like, hey, I've been saying it's going to rain, and I'm a guy who sells umbrellas, and now, well, it's raining. I'm like, well, what a great way to say it. You do feel bad, though, because you don't want it to rain on people this way. And honestly, it's raining on everyone.
Yeah, it's
right?
impacting everybody.
So it depends on the kind of rain and kind of umbrella. It may or may not work. So I definitely see how it doesn't really matter what you've done before this point. It could have helped alleviate some scenarios, but I think we should still be, like you said, very mindful of our money and how we're spending it. So even if you do have, an income coming in, you should really be thoughtful with how you're spending it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been bucketing people into three buckets. It's not, I don't know if that's the best way to bucket people, but that's how I've been kind of sharing, like where you might be in this situation and maybe how you should handle your money. So let me share those with you. The first is those that have experienced a significant loss in income. So maybe they've become unemployed or taken a reduction of hours. Those guys need to protect their four walls. I'm sure you've heard Dave say that as well. So your four walls that you need to prioritize in your spending is food, number one, groceries, utilities to keep the lights on, and the Netflix on. Let's be honest, like that is honestly a utility that we need right now. The third is your mortgage or your rent. And the fourth is transportation, if you need that to get back and forth to work, if you're still working in some capacity. So protecting your four walls in that order, making sure you've got food on the table, the lights are on, you've got a roof over your head, and you can get to and from work or look for work if that's the case. That's what those folks need to do and prioritize. And then the second group of people are those that are still employed, but maybe they don't feel as confident, in their role or their job as they did 2 or 3 months ago, or maybe they're taking a slight reduction in hours. They're working 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week. In that case, I would trim your expenses. Like, take a look and see what could you pause right now? What is really not necessary? It's something you like to do, but maybe not something that you need to do, and trim things up in your budget. Save any extra that you have. Don't pay any extra on debt right now, but just save it. Make sure you have it set aside for that rainy day. And then the third group is those that are gainfully employed. They're not going to experience any loss. They don't expect to whatsoever. They need to carry on. They need to spend their money. They need to support small businesses if they can. If you're going to buy a gift, don't buy it from Amazon. Buy from the local gift shop that's down the street. Tip extra, when the pizza guy comes to deliver, and be generous.
So how much extra should you tip?
Whatever you're comfortable with. I always just give a few bucks. It kind of depends on the service or whatever. But if I have the money, then I'm giving it to them. Those guys are also kind of putting themselves in harm's way, in some degree, delivering door to door. So do what you can, be generous, and support the local businesses that you can.
Yeah, that was for all of you guys out there that feel like you should not tip. Seriously, I'm sorry. I'm not saying Sarah's saying this. Mila's saying this. Look, if it's a tip position and you can't tip, maybe you should reserve the service for a time you could tip. I have been a tipped worker for a lot of my life in a lot of different places, and it really is not a good feeling to work really hard and to be in a role where you're tipped and you're expecting that, and that would be rewarded, and it's not. So I just think this super thoughtful. I love that you said that. And obviously sometimes things don't work out. I'm not saying you're terrible. I'm just saying really be considerate of what people are doing, right? And really be thoughtful of how you're spending your money and how it affects the people that are doing work for you. So I have a weird question. Is if someone isn't a Dave Ramsey believer, could they still have access to your services, or how does that work?
So I coach under my own LLC. So Journey to Influence expanded right from that blog to influence my husband, to really just wanting to influence others positively, with their money. So I coach folks that know Dave, that don't know Dave, that abide by his philosophy, and those that don't. And I just help walk people through just general money management. So you don't have to be an Uncle Dave fan necessarily to work with me.
I just want to clarify that, because I do have some people that I'm not really sure the stigma, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, where you read the blog or comments and you're like, dude, he's just trying to help people. It's not, if you don't like it, it's fine. But it's just interesting because it's like, I wonder if you would feel this way if he was like a doctor helping people to eat healthy. It's really a simple plan when you think about it. So I don't know. It's just interesting to me. Now, if someone is coming to you, they're your client, they're working with you, what is an expected result that they can, that is tangible that they can see?
I work with people to really establish their budget. My favorite way of budgeting is by projecting for the year. So looking at your goals and deciding what those are, and we make SMART goals. Let's figure out what we can do this year and what your overall goals are. Maybe it's debt payoff. Maybe it's padding your emergency savings account. Maybe it's getting ready to retire, whatever that might be. And then we template out a budget for the year. And I show folks how much easier it is to budget when you can see your goals appearing kind of before your eyes. So we always establish a budget, and then we start walking the budget. So just kind of side by side, encouraging accountability. I'm available for those pop-up questions about whether or not a new expense that comes up, when should you pay for it? How should you pay for it? Just kind of weird and crazy questions that arise, along with just kind of typical budgeting, and really just establishing new habits around your budgets and around how you spend your money.
So have you ever had to deal with changing someone's mindset about money? Meaning just having the wrong mindset. An example could be that they think money grows on trees, or that they're afraid of just knowing their money, right? Like it was a forbidden subject in their house. And so now they feel weird just even talking about it. It's supposed to be like some secret.
Right. That is one of my journeys, I feel like, is trying to unleash the stigma around talking about money. Like, I don't need to know what your what your tax document looks like, but we should talk about managing money in a healthy way, because it is definitely part of our overall wellness. We talk about our HIIT workouts and our jogs. Like, let's talk about financial wellness at the same point too. So I think breaking down some of that is really helpful. Some of the mindset shifts that I help with is around spending, really, and how we use our credit cards. Definitely in our society in this day and age, we swipe so fast, so quickly, and our cards are attached to all of our accounts on our phones. I mean, it's just sort of automatic, and it can auto-magically, take care of all of our bills, business. And we lose sight, and we lose some control over that after a period of time. So I try to just help folks realize that's real money that you're going to have to pay for later. Let's figure out how to keep track of it and be really mindful about how you're spending. The other piece that I tend to work with people on is the credit card and the interest rates. We're kind of ingrained historically to pay for high interest credit cards first, or high interest loans first, because that's going to cost you more money. But really, where it's at with Dave's plan and the snowball method is that you gain so much momentum, and you feel really great when you can pay off that first card. It does something to you, and it just gives you this push to keep going. Where sometimes paying off a card that has a larger balance with a larger interest rate is just going to take more time, and the energy is harder to catch on to. It's less contagious.
I think that's a great point. I used to argue that point a lot in my head, and then I actually experienced that where I was making traction, and it was something that, as I experienced these little wins, I really got my mind. It's almost like an appetizer when you're starving.
Yeah.
You get like a small appetizer, and you're like, when is dinner coming? Like, that helps me to not be mean, but I definitely want to eat right now. Right. So it's like, that's what the snowball was like. I feel like laser focused, where I'm like, I want this out of my life right now. Like, not now, but right now. So totally understand that. Any last little tidbits or anything on your heart before we wrap it up and tell people where they can find you?
I would say, don't stop chasing your dreams. I mean, use this crisis as an opportunity to tidy up your finances and meet your goals. I have a free 5-step plan to thrive with your finances, and I'd love to introduce your audience. You can get to it by texting the word thrive, THRIVE, to 33777, and you will get that 5-step plan. That'll get you in touch with me. You can also find me on Instagram at Journey to Influence, and Facebook at Journey to Influence as well.
That was wonderful. Like, okay, I said we were going to wrap it up, but you actually said something that sparked interest in my brain, was just like, don't stop chasing your dreams or your goals. And it made me realize I don't know what my dream is. So that's kind of interesting. And I mean, I know the values that I am building. I know the neighborhood I'm driving to, but I don't know the house, right? So I don't know, maybe we should have you back on to just talk about that. I know that's not quite finance, but I definitely think like brainstorming that and just hearing more about your story, how you're figuring that out, maybe that'll pique interest in me because I don't know that. And then today someone said that something I was doing was life-changing. And I'm not bragging here. Let me just explain. I'm not bragging here. But it was the first time that I heard that. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And when they explained it to me, I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry. I'm very uncomfortable that I'm even saying this. It sounds so cheesy. But I was like, well, it does kind of feel life-changing when you say it back to me. But it was the first time that I felt that. And I was like, what? I don't know. It was the first time I felt that. And then hearing you say your dream, I'm thinking, well, I don't know.
We need to get your dreams established, Milo. Let's do it.
I don't know. I literally just wake up and do stuff, which is probably, it's not the way to live. I'm sure of it. But I literally just wake up and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's go. I'm really very simple. You know how you're like, feed your husband, hug him, say nice things, watch Netflix. Right. He's happy. Like, I'm like that.
Well, it's good to be simple, but simple, you can still have good goals while doing the daily, living the daily. We're all doing the regular stuff, like switching the laundry, all of those things are happening right amongst our houses, but let's not stop chasing our dreams. When we were in high school, people asked us what we want to do when we grow up, and we had big answers for them. And then people stopped asking us what we wanted to do. And I think that we need to keep asking ourselves those questions. Well, what do you want to do next? What's your next goal? Like, let's keep dreaming. It's not just for kids.
Wait, okay, so we're not going to end. I'm sorry, sure. Do you have time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Let's do like 5 more minutes. I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, because now I'm not going to be able to sleep. Okay, so how did you find out what your dream was? Did you fall, like you walked into it, or it's always been there and you just kind of uncovered it? I've heard so many stories of how people find this, but if anyone out there listening to me, people that really know me, they know I'm not really, how people say I found my passion. I don't know what they mean when they say that. Like, I know what they're saying they mean, but I don't know what that means because I don't know. I've never experienced that. Like, yes, I found my passion. I'm just more, I would like that result. I will do it. That gets me that result. And then when I get it, I move on. So I don't really have an emotional, maybe it's not emotional, but like whatever the word passion means, I don't really have that. So sorry, we went to a total different direction, but I do think this is related to money because like you said, money starts in the heart. So if you have a money concern,
it takes money to get to our goals too. So often there's some kind of money associated with what we want to do, right? Or how we want to live differently, or the dreams that we have for our kids. Maybe they're not even for ourselves. I think allowing yourself to dream, it's something that you have to practice. I think we have been kind of out of touch with it for so long because nobody's asked us, we've asked about our goals. We talk about goal setting, but when you really get behind the goal, like, what do you want to do next? Like, what's that next big thing for you? What sets your heart on fire? And for me, it was giving myself the opportunity to have some downtime, that's outside of the daily, and really ask myself those questions. Well, why can't I move to Mexico for a couple of years? Like, what's stopping me? Because society, because I'm not quite 40 years old, and that's not normal, for me to move my family down there for a period of time. Well, if I want to do it, if I think that's really important to immerse my family into this community and teach them the language and experience life differently for a couple of years, then then I can figure out how to get there. So then you backtrack and you make yourself a plan to meet your goal and fulfill your dreams. I think we have to allow ourselves some time to really think about what we want and why we want it. And maybe not just the first why, but the why behind the why. Why? Yeah. So why do I want to do it? Well, I think it'd be great for my family, right? I think I'll teach my kids how to speak Spanish, and they're going to see this small community feel like we're going to have sand in our toes. It's going to be great. But what about why? But why do I want that? Well, I want that because I want to have an experience with my kids. I want to be a present mom for them, and be available to them in a time where my girls still care about my opinion right now. They're young enough. They're going to soak in and have some time with their mama that we won't get here doing the same job, the same type of work, doing the same tasks in and out. So I think that can mean something different, obviously, to anybody, but my why behind the why is really all about my kids and how I raise them and how I make an impression on their heart now, before they become, crazy teenagers that don't want to hang out with me anymore,
I don't think that exists. I'm sorry for all the parents that have crazy teenagers out there that don't want to hang out with them. But I honestly think I believe attention is the most valuable thing, right? And so if you give your attention to your kids when they want your attention, you will have their attention later. I just believe that. And I'm just sharing that because I always wanted my parents' attention. Always. And maybe I'm a different breed, but I'm a grown woman, and it gives me no greater joy than to connect with my mom and dad. So I definitely think there may be more challenges, but I think, like you said, being present, kids can really tell when you're genuinely present, when you genuinely care, and they can really test your words if you mean what you say. And I think that builds respect for you as a person when you show up as someone that's dependable for them and you're super present, and they'll want to show up for you. They will. When they're teenagers, they'll want to show up for you, because I think that, and I don't have teenagers yet, but I just see a pattern in my own life and other people's lives where their kids, they want to show up for them because they showed up for them. And I'm not saying that, if you make a mistake or anything, don't read too deep into this. I don't want any hate mail. I'm not going to open it. But, I'm just saying that I think it's just a real relationship. I think sometimes we want to get by, and those are the people that we shouldn't want to get by with. We should want to give them our all. And so I think that that's really important. And I think those are the people, they get to see us in all, all kinds of roles, all kinds of ways. So they get to see the real us, right? So they're not buying it, right? You're going to just have to come correct with them. I think that is what it is. And we think they're too young to understand, but I am very aware that they understand more than I realize. I'm like, wait a minute, you sucked all that up? Okay. So let's just give everyone one goal to focus on their dreams. I'm going to apply this to my own life, by the way. I'm using myself as your guinea pig right now. Okay. So what's one tip or one piece of advice, goal that can help people to start to understand what their dream is?
I think the first thing that you need to do is give yourself some space and quiet time, like genuine quiet time to think about what you want and what your goals are. That's step number one. In your quarantine house, go shut yourself in the closet, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and start thinking about what really sparks joy for you, and what lights you up, and where do you want to be? What do you want to do? And just start journaling and start figuring out, prioritizing those goals. Like what works for your whole family, or what works for a short term, is it a short-term goal in addition to a long-term goal? I know we're going way over time here, but our first step in our plan to get to Mexico is actually to buy a tiny house and put it up on we have a campsite, and that's where we would stay during the summer months, because it's super hot down in Mexico. We don't want to stay there in the summer, so we'd stay at our campsite. So we currently have a big financial goal of paying cash for a tiny house. And so that is my bite-sized goal that we're tackling before we do the whole big move to Mexico. So sometimes your big goal has to be broken down into smaller sizes too. But just go after it. We're not too old. We're not too young. We're not too busy to have goals for ourselves.
Okay. And I want to clarify that I love that you're saying goals and dreams, but for me, I think, so that I know when you hold me accountable, what you're holding me accountable for. I feel like I have goals, but I've never attached them to a dream. It's more like
the dream.
You're saying Mexico is the dream, but maybe I have the tiny house. I know we're getting a tiny house, but I don't know why, right? I just know, hey, I think we should have a tiny house. And then maybe when we get to the tiny house, but it probably would be super beneficial for me to see, hey, what's that tiny house for, right? And I don't know. I'm getting really like uncomfortable in a good way just thinking about it. Like I haven't really asked myself that, and I do want to know, and I would like to take that time. I love that idea of taking quiet time. And I was thinking, can I take a cup of decaf coffee and a chocolate chip cookie in there too in the closet? I'm just thinking of all the things I need in this closet to make sure I stay in there.
That sounds like a perfect trip to me.
Okay, so this was so much fun. You have to come back on. We're going to do something else. I don't know what else is going on in your brain. Oh, you know what? You could also tell us more about that. The blog post, right? That you did. That would be great. And I love the idea just talking about like maybe some tips on communicating, because it sounds like this was not a one-day thing, right? Of communicating a dream and allowing your partner time to buy in. I think that's super important. Where we think it needs to be instant.
That's the dream too.
You're like, what do you mean you don't get it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're getting a divorce.
Yeah, that's definitely a journey too. I'd love to come back and tell you more about that, the progression. We're still not fully convinced. We're still on the journey. Yeah.
I think it's fine. He's going along. He's still married, so that's progress. I'll take it.
Absolutely.
All right.
So good to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening too. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like for real. No, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.